Greetings all. Nice to be here with you. Thanks for joining me. This is Lotus, Art of Sacred Embodiment. All things embodiment, so happy to have you with me. Today we're going to do some chatting about, this is a topic we've talked about, living from the inside out. And I wanted to go a little bit deeper into some of this, particularly based on everything in our world right now. Just the deeper importance of reorienting ourselves to the paradigm that is actually demanding more and more from us, that if we want to be stabilized in our lives on this planet, we really need to be rooted inside. So if this content speaks to you, please subscribe to the channel. I would love to have you join me here. So when we're talking about living from the inside out, most of us think, of course, I'm living from the inside out. I'm in my body, right? I've got my thoughts, I've got my feelings. I make my decisions, I have my behaviors. All of that is true. However, we don't necessarily have all of our energy in our body. And the more active that we are in the brain, and the more scattered, right? When you think about, oh my gosh, like I feel so scattered today, or I'm so, forgetful, or I just feel like I'm pulled in so many directions. Literally what that is saying is that your energy is separated from your body. You aren't in your body. Now, obviously parts of us are in our body, but we aren't operating from a place of empowerment. Our power actually comes from our soul presence, which is our energetics, coming into a coherent harmony within us. And there are many things in the world that actually distort this harmonious way of operating, and a soulful, and I've been saying this lately as soulful, soul F-U-L-L, right? Soulful experience. And it is this soulful or soul-filled. If we are soul-filled, then we're going to have a much easier time navigating the world and the changes that are upon us and that are going to keep growing, right? They're not going to go away. They're going to keep mounting, because this is what is transforming us as a race and as a planet. Any transformation is uncomfortable, because when we're transforming, we're kicking out stuff, we're having to see things, feel things, experience things that we have not wanted to, we didn't even know were there, right? In order to create a new experience and paradigm and get clearer about things, the truth of things, versus the distortions. So when this takes place, we start bringing ourselves back into our center with every level of healing that we do. But if we're not actually grounding and rooting into that and cultivating that, then we just go get scattered again. So one of the things that I am increasingly aware of is all of the information out there, including myself, right? I'm kind of on this platform to share my perspectives, to share my tools and skills and things that can support those who resonate. So this is awesome that we have so many opportunities and so many different options to really find where do I resonate and what is really going to support me and my body and my life and my reality and my becoming, right? Becoming more of who I truly am when I'm anchored inside. And yet, information in and of itself does not bring us home. We can listen to many things. We can gain a lot of intellectual information and even knowledge. But wisdom does not come without embodying and direct experience and inner transformation. And all of that takes place on the inside, not from the outside. So the invitation then starts to be, and I talked about this in another video recently, our job, if we truly want to, live in a balanced, peaceful, grounded, empowered way, it doesn't just happen because we really want it. We actually have to take the steps, sometimes moment by moment, to choose it. And that means staying more present. And sometimes we're just too tired. Staying present actually requires energy. Maintaining a higher and more expanded space of consciousness actually requires energy, because presence and higher consciousness takes place in the higher centers. And what keeps us from that is the distortions in all centers, but primarily the distortions in the lower centers. So just and low energy, nervous system being out of whack, not being in tune with our right rhythm, our natural rhythm and sacred flow. And I'm going to have another video that's going to expand on that a little bit more as well soon. So when we're tired, our energy drops, right? Oh, I'm so tired. And you might begin to notice that when that happens, it's easier to get caught up in your shadow. It's easier to get caught up in, negative Nancy thinking. And life doesn't seems harder because we're tired, because we don't have the inner resources and reserves in order to fuel us. And oftentimes the exhaustion, not just from overdoing, exhaustion doesn't happen because we're doing in right balance or we're learning in deeper alignment. Exhaustion and scatteredness happens because we're overdoing, we're overthinking, and we're fixing on all sorts of external stimulus rather than knowing how to enter into our body and knowing how to be in emptiness and having space and not being inundated with stimulation. All of those things are what scatters us and pulls us out or exhausts us, and then life doesn't feel really all that great. The nervous system is huge in this, right? Just think in terms like super basic. The more that we do, the more active our nervous system is, right? that sympathetic nervous system, the more thinking, the more active our sympathetic nervous system is. That sympathetic nervous system brings things outside of us, right? It connects us with the outside world. We need that. That's part of our experience here. But when we're on it all the time, we aren't actually choosing mindfully, what am I taking in? Why am I taking this in? Does this really resonate? What is the value? It might feel cool for my brain, but is it actually serving to transform me and bring me deeper happiness, deeper peace, greater satisfaction, more joy, more groundedness, more clarity, more maturity, right? All of these things that our spiritual path is, that is what our spiritual path is inviting us to do. It's not to feed on all of the wild things or chaotic things that are happening out there unless they're serving us, unless we find the value and we anchor that value in us, and then we live from that new place. Right? So I hope that's making sense. So living from within allows us to choose consciously. Well, this is cool, but is this worth spending my time? Right? How many hours do I want to be on my phone, be on Instagram, be on Facebook, be on all of these other platforms, be on YouTube, right? Or am I just here because it's habit? That isn't an empowered, grounded space. That is a disempowered energy loss and energy suck. And that is then what causes the exhaustion. Or it causes us just to space out, right? We check out. We go unconscious. We go unpresent. Now, some of that, there's nothing wrong with it, but each of us get to discern for ourselves based on how enriched do we want to live. And that's going to come from inside of us. So in the April themes, one of the things that I talked about is that when we're living inside, from the inside out, we're measuring what is important to us by our own resonance, by our own heart-soul connected. But we've got to be in our heart and in our soul, in the consciousness of our heart and soul, not in the whimsy, right? Does that make sense? Like, not kind of like this, and for people that are more air and fire, let's bring the elements into this, right? More air and fire oriented, like myself, it can be really easy to get pulled out because air and fire is a lot faster and naturally they move out. So if we understand how we operate, and this is why we did the elemental journey back in February, right? We did the elemental journey to kind of start to get a handle on this, to understand and be empowered from the inside and understand the forces of nature that are in us, right? That compel us in a myriad of ways. So if we're operating and we're used to living outwardly like that, we have to discern, is this really serving me? Is this serving not only my highest good, but my deepest embodiment and wisdom? And if it's not, if it is, then okay, that's great. But I'm really speaking for people who are aware that maybe the ways in which they're operating really are not working. And there's an option. And if we want to live more empowered, coming within is going to give us that. So there's a measurement that the old paradigm that we've been living in for thousands of years has literally been governed by measuring who I am by the external world, by the validation that I get, by culture telling me what to like, what to buy, how to have fun, how I'm supposed to look and feel. So all of these were part of sort of these ego developmental stages and phases. What we're doing now is our evolution is going to happen with more ease and grace and more presence when we start understanding that it's all about the frequency inside us now. It is the vibration and the signature that we hold of our divine essence that we must start measuring by, because the world is going to tell us all sorts of stuff in the old paradigm that is not true anymore. And if you are on this journey of awakening, this has to get reoriented, and it can be challenging to do that. It doesn't happen overnight. But one of the examples that I used in one of the last videos, or in the themes, was, success. So old paradigm was I measure success by how much money do I have, right? How is my survival? Am I in survival or am I thriving, right? Thriving is going to mean that I have the external resources to give me my shelter, give me the things that I need in order to function in the world, give me the excess to be able to go on my vacations, to go and have fun and do all those things, right? And that I have a level of status, whatever that status might be, that means something to us based on what the world says is status, okay? And if I'm not hitting those marks, or if I have, life sort of throws me a curveball, and I lose the job, or I lose the wife or the house, or the husband, or whatever that is, then our success, because it's measured from without through physical things, can, success then turns into failure. That's the duality of our world. The unification that we're working with is within. So what is success within, right? Success becomes, do I know how to love myself? Do I know how to appreciate and accept myself, right? Because when I do that, I feel connected, I feel lovable, I feel qualified and capable through my acceptance innately. So even if the outside world, even if I, have some glitches in the outside world, then I get an opportunity to look at those things, not through judgment, not through polarity, but through, oh, okay, well, how do I step into even that next phase of my becoming? But I don't get dragged down by it, right? Am I learning to love more? Am I learning to be of more service? Am I creating success in my own ability to reach more joy because I am healing my sorrow and my grief and my loss. So this internal success then becomes a thriving that cannot be taken away when we lose something on the outside. It's innate. We become that. We're not getting it. We become it. And when we start becoming these expressions and we embody them, anything that comes from that then will be measured by truth, not by what is shown back. It means, wow, I'm in my purpose. Not purpose as in vocation or service, but purpose as in essence. And when we're living from our essence, we are flourishing and thriving, and our frequency raises, which means we attract more of what serves us and gives us value, because we're becoming more empowered. Right? We're powered through the soul full presencing. And as we do this, we remember our divinity. When we lose things because we're operating from the outside and we hit a failure, we sink into a shadow of our humanness. Whereas when we're living from the inside, we're rising into our divine humanness. And that simply grows and grows and grows. But we cannot access our divinity or flourishing and thriving from the inside, that nothing can take that away from us unless we're living from here, unless we're cultivating and crafting our reality in the new paradigm. This is a paradigm that automatically brings about unification. So one of the ways in which I work with divine union is not just divine union within the, the partnership, divine union of the masculine and feminine. That is definitely there. But divine union is not only based on relationship with another. It is first based on relationship within. It is first based on unification of all of our scattered, wounded parts, bringing them into wholeness from within. Unifying the realms of the physical realm and the higher dimensional realms within. All of that's going to be more that will be coming. So that starts to let us know, right, that wow, the paradigm, the orientation is really shifting. And it is up to us. It's actually a responsibility if we are part of the greater evolution. It requires every one of us making these new choices. And this is partly why I'm doing these journeys, right? And I talked about this when I was talking about the containers that I'm starting to work with more and more, right? The containers for a number of different ways of co-creating from the inside with and in relationship with divine source, with the higher frequencies and higher consciousness energies and information coming in that our vessel is here to hold, not outside, inside. So we're doing these journeys, and the one that we're getting ready to start with on Saturday on the 19th is a 7-day, the Essene Communions, the prayers of life. And again, they're internal communions, they're meditations, they're contemplations that are supporting us in strengthening our muscles of learning how to live from the inside out and gaining deeper wisdom from our intuition, from the deep wisdom that our body carries, from the revelations that are bestowed upon us, from the fount of wisdom that is within us, and the living waters of the divine that we cannot access when we're only in our head and when we're trying just to seek all sorts of stuff just because it's there. So the call is truly, how can you learn, if you desire, right, to be more embodied? How can you start making more conscious choices moment to moment? Is this serving me now? Why am I scrolling, right? Why am I scrolling? Why am I using a scrolling method in order to check out as a way of probably de-stressing rather than coming within and not only de-stressing and decompressing, but then filling my reserves with me, my energy, my life force, my soul. So these are the questions that we get to start asking ourselves. How many things do I need to go and do outside? And do I balance that with sitting and just being and allowing myself to expand and integrate anything that I've been out there doing, right? Digest it. We don't just digest food, we digest information, we digest energy, we digest emotions, we digest activity. These are the etheric, energetic levels. And if we're not taking the time beyond just sleeping at night, if we aren't taking the time, we aren't actually digesting and assimilating our lives. Living from the inside out supports us in numerous ways, and I can tell you this. However, it's just going to be words until you experience it and deepen the experience of that. So if you're interested in learning how to live from the inside out, then I would love if you'd like to join this Essene Communion, the prayers of life, or stay connected with other things that are going to be taking place. You know, connect into my blog and subscribe. That's where I put the little events or the gatherings that I'm doing, and then I talk about it here. So the mission that I'm really feeling called to more and more and more, and that I'm like getting the tap on the shoulder, is the ways in which I can support those who are ready to live more deeply embodied and to choose it, right? To choose that path, and offering support for that, offering containers to access that, offering ways for you to continue to deepen and ground and expand and root with strong roots of wisdom, not weak limbs of just knowledge or information, but to strengthen the core of who you are with what is relevant and right and true and of value for your blueprint, for your divine design. So if this speaks to you, if you want to start living from the inside out, then please keep joining me here. Connect with me, and I would love to support that. All right. Dropping back in from that information. Dropping down for a moment. Just take that in. How did it land? Where is there resistance? Right? Where is there a yes? Listen within. Your body knows. Your intuition knows. This is what we're cultivating more and more in the new paradigm. Any blessings? Much love.